the man, the myth, the legend, Bobby Okereke. And let's be honest, guys, this is probably one of the best players in the entire team, not just the best player on this group. You could easily make the case that he could be the second best player of the team, if not third, maybe, depending on where you want to put him, Dexter Lawrence, and Andrew Thomas, who to me are the top three.
That's what I say. He's arguably top three.
There's no argument to my end. I'm
Yeah.
saying point blank he's top three. I don't know if you got an argument on that, but you got a fourth guy?
No.
I mean, you could throw Burns maybe into the mix, but until he actually does it with the Giants, I can't throw him there.
You have to, yes. We talked about him last night. If you guys haven't watched the episode, you got to go back and watch the episode. We talked about him for about 15 minutes, half an hour between him and,
That's crazy.
and Thibodeau. But, he on paper is going to be one of the best players. I mean, you argue, like, you'd say in the same context, like, Thibodeau comes out of his sophomore year. He looks like he's much better as a junior, more confident, and makes better stops against the run. Like, he'd be arguably top three. So, like, you could say he's arguably top three.
Saying, as of right now, going into camp, based on what they've done in their careers and what they did last season, that's why I'm saying it that way.
Fair enough.
So, like I said, I wouldn't put Burns in just because of the fact he hasn't played for us yet. He hasn't played a single game as a Giant. So, I just don't know where you want to put Andrew Thomas and Bobby Okereke, because to me, Dexter Lawrence is the top. But either way, let's say he's at the very least top five. Agree on that. So 27 years old, so still in the prime of his career, though. He just turned 28 in July, so there goes that prime. No kidding.
Wow.
He's still got a few more years to go. They're easily 6'1", 235. Third round pick of the Colts from Stanford University, Pinkies back in 2019 there. Signed this past offseason, obviously, that this one, the one prior, 23, a 4-year, $40 million contract. Last year, 149 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 6 QB hits, 2 interceptions, 10 passes deflected, 4 forced fumbles. Every single one of those was career high, except tackles, where he was short by 2 whole tackles. That's it. 78.9 PFF grade. That's a damn good season. Good season. So, his contract gave him a lot of stuff to build up to, a lot of stuff to kind of go, okay, yeah, I'm worth this, because let's be honest here. We talked about it going into it. He was very much overpaid based on what everybody else got in the linebacker group. We signed him pretty quickly. And like I said, it's a $10 million a year contract he's got. And you looked at that season at guys who are making $4 or $5 million later on, 6-7% of the top end stuff. He was one of the biggest linebacker contracts given. And we all knew he was a good player, but he kind of lived in the shadow of Shaq Leonard for a couple of years there at Indy. We weren't quite sure what he was as far as being the top dog, so to speak, there. Had a good last year, though, when Shaq was hurt there in Indy. So, but yeah, he lived up to that contract. That's for damn sure. If anything, I could easily say he's exceeded that contract. Which was crazy to say.
I was going to ask you that next. It's like, do you think he lived up to it?
Yeah.
That's going to sound yes.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if anything, he's exceeded it. If he was a free agent this past year, after the year he had, he would probably be making $15 to $20 million. That's how good of a season he had. And this guy could end up going from a guy that we go, was it too much money, to this was one of the best contracts ever given out free agency-wise to a New York Giant. Going up to the ranks of the guys like, Plexico Burress, Intro Roll, some of those kind of guys. Like, that's how good, and that's how I feel about the signing now after his first year. We'll see if I still feel that in 3 more years, but, as of right now. Yeah, a lot can change. Listen, a lot can. It really can. I mean, you see players all the time, all of a sudden the ability gets zapped, or they get one injury, they're never the same. So, not that I'm obviously thinking that's going to happen with Bobby, but things do happen in the NFL. So, hopefully it continues to be the way it was last year. And we look back on that, and, he's going to be, like I said, 28 this season. So he's going to be 30 basically when that contract is up. And hopefully we get him for a couple more years after that, because a lot of the best linebackers, they still go through their lower 30s at that point. It's kind of like their mid 30s when they start losing it a little bit there. So, he could be a Giant for a long time there. And you can easily say he's one of the best linebackers we've had in quite a long time as well. On top of that, I mean,
it's very, very fair to say.
We said we signed him. He might be very well the best linebacker we've had since the often injured John Beeson, who was, didn't play a lot because of the injury issues, but was a great player when he was healthy. And, going back to Antonio Pierce, again, after this past season, I can make the case that he's better than those two guys were. Antonio Pierce was a beast, don't get me wrong. And his leadership was probably his best skill, which is why he's now an NFL head coach. He's got that leadership abilities, that leader, capabilities that not every player has. But
before I make that statement, I want to see what he does. I'm not going to judge it off of one season.
Well, I'm saying, but we kind of have to, right? That's what we got. So I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm putting you on the spot right now, Rob. Go for it. Is he better? Is he better?
Antonio Pierce.
You're going Antonio Pierce? Okay.
And it's not disrespect. Okay.
No, it's not. It's
just the sample size. You're talking about years with the Giants, year with the Giant.
I hear you on that, but that's all we have to go based on right now. So
I'm a scientist, damn it. Crazy, but the sample size is too small.
What kind of scientist are you? Exactly.
There's not enough sample size.
I'm just saying. I think it's something that we could easily be saying at that point there.
But you're not wrong. Like, you could sit there and, like, I can see what you're saying. Like, Okereke had a fantastic year.
Jay suggests, do not be on the spot. Do not be on the spot.
I'm going to be on the spot.
All right. So, I mean, again, I see it continuing. I guess the only concern I have really with him is he has his best, career year there. And that 1 year he has with Wink Martindale. We got Shane Bowen, obviously, coming in from Tennessee. It's a different defense entirely. We know that this is a team that Brian Daboll probably will get more involved with the defense this year than he has the last two. But he's still not a defensive coach.
He dived in. No, he dived in a little bit. He took Wink and listened to Wink as much as he did because, he did the backstroke.
Michael Phelps of coaching over here. I guess diving. No. Is it Greg Louganis? Who's a famous diver? I don't even know.
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
We talk about synchronized swimming or curling. I would know those.
Definitely. But.
Got him all flustered. He's like, I don't know what to talk about now.
You put me on the spot. I'm just saying, Wink Martindale was not
Jay, do not be on the spot. Do not be
I'm on the spot. But.
That comment might get pulled up a few times during this topic today.
Probably. Yeah. I'm just saying, Wink Martindale was not with Indianapolis Colts. And Okereke played pretty well over there. And he comes over to the Giants, had almost all his career highs, very close to what he had when he had his best year with the Colts. So it's not saying that Wink Martindale made Okereke play that well.
Oh, no.
That's the talent around him and the coaching definitely did help, but he still got talent around him and good coaching.
Let me be clear. I'm not suggesting that Wink made Bobby Okereke.
I didn't
Bobby Okereke. I'm just being clear because you said it that way, and I want to make sure people understand where I'm coming from. I'm not suggesting that. He was a good player before he came here. It's just he had his career best season. So now, again, I'm saying, can he replicate this with a new DC? And I think he can. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that he won't or that he's going to be a bust this year. That's not the conversation I'm having. What I'm saying is you have to at least consider that there'll be somewhat of a change in his role and his production potentially in a new defense. That's not crazy to say.
It's not at all because the schemes are going to be different. We're not going to blitz 1,005% of the time. Pretty sure they're going to lower that number just a smidge.
Might not get those 2.5 sacks this year.
Yeah. But it's going to be a different scheme. But he's still got talent around him.
100%.
So
you have more talent around him.
That's what I'm saying. You can't run the edge as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, pass rush the edge, as well. You still got Thibodeau to worry about a little bit over there. But you got Sexy Dex. Like he's going to be utilized
Yeah.
And I think that talent it could exacerbate his talent because they're might have to run up the middle closer to where he is.
Yeah. The only other question I have with him, and I'm just thinking, I didn't even put this in the show notes here. I'm just thinking about it as we're talking. And I hate to kind of be the negative guy in this whole thing, but Rob, you're being so damn positive. And
negative Nancy over here.
It's like I have to kind of, to a certain degree, bring these things up. And it's not negative Nancy. It's Debbie Downer. Debbie Downer. Oh, yes. But I have to at least bring these things up here because the other thing to kind of think about here is, does he get affected at all by the defensive line? That's one group we talked about that's kind of potentially going to take a step back this year, even though we like, obviously, Dexter Lawrence. We said before he's the best player on the team. But besides him and Nacho, who was a little bit disappointment there last year, you have a bunch of young guys that are unproven. Well, the loss of an A'Shawn Robinson and Leonard Williams, I mean, obviously he dealt with the second half of the year without Leonard Williams, but he still had A'Shawn Robinson. Will that affect potentially? Will that stop him being freed up because he'll get blockers onto him? Those kind of things. That's something else to consider as well. But only time will tell on that because it all depends on the development of the defensive line.
No, I mean, you're not wrong for saying that. I mean, and then also in the same turnaround, like they're gonna have, if they get through the line, who's going to stop them?
Yeah, and that's, like I said, it's one of those things that he might get more tackles because of that as well. You're not wrong there, So again, it's just something to kind of keep an eye on there because that's the only differences you're looking at is what could affect his play this year is the change of the coaching staff and the change of who's in front of him on that defensive line. Other than that, he's the same player. He's still young. He's still in his prime. He's got better edge rush around him, which depending on how that works out with the blitzing going down and the edge rusher quality being better with Brian Burns added, quarterbacks may be prone to make more mistakes as well or take shorter passes, which also increases production. So, again, there's pros, there's cons, there's everything. You got to see what happens year by year, little things like that affect the production of a player. But Bobby Okereke, flat out, is a beast. And I don't expect that to change this year.
And he also sounds like Okereke, which is
everybody keeps saying like Okereke and all this stuff like that. Like I don't understand. The man's name is Okereke. It's not that difficult. It's really not. I understand when you first see it, it's a little difficult, but once you say it once or twice, it's not that difficult. It really isn't.
Yeah, every time I think about Okereke.
I still see
cake.
But I still see media people and content creators saying his name wrong. It's like, gee, she's been a Giant for a year now. If you made this mistake we first signed him, I get it to a certain degree. Then do your research. But
maybe have a conversation with the guy. I don't know.
Well, listen, I don't think he's exactly easy to get a hold of. It's not like, we sent him
a big guy.
We sent him a congratulations message when he first got signed by the Giants, actually. We didn't hear anything back.
He's too busy being a Giant.
Too busy talking to Jordan Ronan and Pat Traina.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.